Hello, YouTubers and all those who happen to watch. Hope you guys are all doing quite well nonetheless. So, another versus, which are going to, of course, tackle two specific games that have a similarity in genre. That, of course, is Tomb Raiding. Now, this is, of course, a dead giveaway, and that is the first game from the series, which is kind of ironic, is Tomb Raider for the PlayStation 1. Now, of course, it can be set to any preference you wish. It could be PC, Sega Saturn, PlayStation 1, etc., etc., etc. And the next contestant is Uncharted 2 for the PlayStation 3. Now, both games got near perfect scores. Now, I'll read the back of this one because a lot of people can't quite picturate this one at first. Is 100%, 99, and 97% PlayStation Game of the Year, and this is from GameFan. 99% Game of the Year, PS Extreme 9.5, PlayStation Game of the Year, Ultra Game Players, and Electronic Gaming Monthly. That's a name you haven't heard in a while. PlayStation's Greatest Adventure. And of course, this game was very popular for the PlayStation 1. It was one of the few reasons some folks bought the PlayStation 1, even though this could probably say about generally any game, but this one was the most common you could probably bring up. Though, PC owners also enjoyed this game quite thoroughly as well. It had, for its time, really good graphics. Nowadays, if you look at it, you're like... But at the time, it was just stunning. The music was fantastic. Everything flowed together like some sort of cordial wine. Like it just assembled very well for the taste palette, and it was a well-made game. Nowadays, if you play it versus any other game when it comes to modern controls, your mind might be spoiled by the newer controls versus the older controls. This generally happens, although some people probably are catered or more used to older retro-style controls. That's a big part of this game. While the controls were solid to a degree, they also had their faults as well, which is the only problem I ever had with this game personally. It was the controls, especially for the the directional pad when you use it for the PlayStation 1. Now, it's again not a huge problem. I can get over it very easily, but at points it somewhat is a bane rather than a ailment, or it was a cure. Again, it was a fantastic title for its day, still is now, and that of course is Tomb Raider 1. Tomb Raider Anniversary, on the other hand, is pretty great too. So if you want a more modern approach to the game, you want to be spoiled by the modern graphics, updated visuals, all that good stuff, go for the Anniversary one, which is available on most every platform of modern controllers, such as PS2, Xbox 360, PC, you name it, practically on that. But if you want to go for the classic vanilla flavor, PlayStation 1 or the PlayStation equivalent is pretty much also common, as well as the said PC copy is very common to obtain and very affordable. Sega Saturn one is a little bit more steep, and can't remember what else this is also on. This is all, of course, from general memory. The next contestant is Uncharted 2. Now, Uncharted 2, obviously, it has an advantage only biasedly, of course, from a modern approach, from the controls all the way to the platforming, and it tells an extremely good storyline. It just, the story, I think, is alone is what makes this game fantastic. It feels like you're watching a movie, and as you're playing the game, the movie still rolls, which it tells a really well told adventure. More than anything else, some people probably don't like the controls too much. They're not really into the whole platforming element. They like a little bit more of a stiffer approach to these type of games. But personally, I felt the multiplayer too was fantastic. Like, I was salivating with that. It was really fun to play. Like, I was addicted to it for, I think, for like a couple months, and I just had cold turkey at that point. The game itself, by far, to me, was one of those stories that you probably heard from most Indiana Jones fan fiction or stuff you've generally seen from adventure movies. You're playing as Nathan Drake, which was one of the most, to me, iconic characters for the PlayStation 3 at the time. Uncharted 1 wasn't any much that good versus Part 2. Part 2, I think it really nailed the mechanics down to a science. It's, again, very similar to Tomb Raider 1. Now, again, I'm not going to go off of the modern advantage when it comes to two games because that would not be fair. However, the more enjoyment I had at both games, I would say this one probably wins. It's generally because of the variety it offers. It pretty much fills the entire disc up with content. While this game by far is fantastic, I love it to death. Again, I don't know. It's like I go back to it now. It isn't that I'm spoiled by modern games. It just feels like I can feel the flaws in the game. Maybe because I'm getting old. I'm probably isn't because I'm expecting too much out of the game, other than what I remember from back in the day. But by far, it still holds up to its time. It's a classic that's timeless, and it's quite enjoyable. On the other hand, modern game that actually is solid. It's a AAA title. Most people complain and say AAA titles of today's genre are not that good because they always use the cheap vanilla flavor called gun mechanics or using guns in the game. And while this game does have shootouts here and there and everywhere, it also has very outstanding platforming. Quite nostalgic to the fact of how Tomb Raider was as well, where they had you go across ropes, go across chasms by getting enough momentum and jumping over. This game obviously simplifies it a little bit, adds a couple more advanced elements too, and has a lot of hidden Easter eggs, hidden things here and there. So, my conclusion is, or my selection is, I'm neutral at this, because again, both games, for their times, offered something that was fantastic. I can't choose between both because, again, it would fall underneath biased pretenses. And to me, both games, it would not do any justice to pick one or the other for me. So that's why I'm actually neutral on this selection. Prior to the last time where I picked Castlevania Symphony of the Night, I can't choose between both because to me, both both games from two different periods of gaming both fit that palette quite well. So, though I know some people out there in YouTube land that actually would pick either or quite easily off the top of their head, no problem. So that's why today I want to hear your guys' opinion of which game do you prefer, Uncharted 2 or Tomb Raider? Or you could say the Tomb Raider series if you wish to. It's very optional. Same with Uncharted. Now, which one do you guys prefer? Leave your creative comments down below, or video response is always fantastic as well. I love watching those. So, take it easy. Thank you guys for spending some of your time with me, and game on. And touch your freaking nipples like a bowl of cereal. That made no sense.